Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are on episode 15. This is One Day Today. We have a really exciting show for you. We have two amazing guests. So I'm really excited to hear them share. I think we're like well over a month now. We've had maybe almost 50 guests share, and everyone has been amazing and it's so inspiring and insightful. And today is no exception. We have some amazing people who are just up to amazing things in the world who are all contributing to something bigger than themselves. And that's what this space is for you to share your story, who you are, with us all. And when we share our story, we allow others to see that they're not so alone with what they might be feeling, and it makes them willing to share. And when I share, and I'm willing to be vulnerable, it allows others to do the same. And this is kind of the circle of sharing, and that's what the stage is about. It's for us to all see the humanity in each other. And this has just been a very humbling opportunity for me just to see and hear everyone's stories. And I'm really happy you're joining us today. Let me bring in our co-host, Matthew. Matthew, how's it going today?
Doing lovely, brother, man. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in Nashville, and can't complain. Have some amazing people been talking to on the stage, and today we have the two guests. I'm very, very excited to hear them share.
Yeah, me too. Like it's looking like it's going to be a really deep dive today, and I'm really looking forward to it. And just real quick, what you were talking about vulnerability, like that is something that I've been really paying attention to in my life, and it's pretty amazing. Like the more vulnerable I am, and the more often I share from that real place of like I'm not perfect, and I do get depressed, and I do get sad, and I do get angry. These things do happen, and then this is what I learned from those moments. Like this is what became of it and how I grew bigger from it. That like it just creates this multiplier effect with the people around me where like we all start growing together. And that's been like watching that here on this stage has actually been one of my favorite things about this. Like how it's just inviting more and more vulnerability from everybody. And I'm loving it. So, thank you to all our previous guests. Thank you to our two that are coming on today. You know, Beata and Lee. We're gonna have an amazing show. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally know what you're saying about like being willing to be vulnerable, and then it seems counterintuitive, but like when we share about the situation that we're going through or we've been through, whether it's our mental health, our just our trials and tribulations, things that are we usually don't tell and share people, but when we're willing to share that, somebody else hears it, and it makes them want to reach out. It's like, hey, I'm going through that too. How did you face that? How are you dealing with that? And I think it's a beautiful thing it ultimately makes us feel less alone when we can share, and it gives others a space to be empowered by, whatever situation they're going through. And I think on that note, I'm going to invite our first guest. We have Beata Seweryn-Reid. Hi, Beata.
Hi, Abraham. Hi, Matthew. Thank you so very much. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh,
We
we
are
are excited to have you.
very looking forward to hearing your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, I'm going to let you take the stage, Beata. Without further
All
ado, Beata
right.
Seweryn-Reid.
Hello, everyone. My name is Beata Seweryn-Reid. I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado, but yes, my accent is not from Colorado. So I'm originally from Poland. I immigrated to US about 9 years ago now. And I'm a life coach. I empower women through change and transition. We focus their thinking on their true desires because often is our thinking is in the way of our dream life. And how did I get to that realization? Let me take you back a little bit. As I told you, I was born in Poland behind the uh, Iron Curtain, so the communist time, and I was the youngest of four. And always as a little girl, I was having this desire and dream that one day one day I will do something meaningful for this world. I was not sure what is it, but I had this feeling, and we all have different feelings, but this was so strong. Well, I was 7 years old, and it was the probably first week or second of my first grade. So I just started my school, and education was for me very, very important. 2 weeks in, on the way back home, unfortunately, there was another one day accident. So I got in the car accident, very tragic, ended in the hospital with a brain injury. And I don't remember anything, how it happened, but I remember very vividly when I woke up finally and I was seeing my mom next to my bed and her eyes were kind of water and I was like, what's going on? Where I am? Anyway, it was so strange. What I also remember vividly, the doctor coming to my mom and talking that she is in a very serious condition. We don't really know what is next. There is a possibility that she won't be like the other kids anymore. She won't succeed. She might not ever finish any school. And it stuck with me for a very, very long time. Even as a 7-year-old kid, when you don't really care what people say, this stuck to me that I'm less than other people, less than my friends. So fast forwarding my life, this belief started cultivating in me. Even if I was going to school, I was basically living same life as other kids, but this little voice, every time when I was getting into new project or wanting to achieve more was, remember, you are less than them. You might not achieve the same success. So many times it was stopping me from what I really, really want, from my desires. And yes, as every girl, I met this beautiful man, and we were together for 11 years. During just before my 11th anniversary, my beautiful man, he announced that he is gonna start his new life with different girl. And the voice, the little 7-year-old girl, was crushed. She automatically ran to her story that she heard at the hospital. You won't have life like the other kids. You won't have what the other people have in life. So I felt like a failure. Uh, so what the small kids do when when is in the fear or feels scared, runs away. So I ran away from where I was. I moved to the big town, and finally I moved to the US where I am today because Poland was not enough to to get rid of this inner pain. And what I learned very quickly when I moved, that actually you can run wherever you want, but where you go, there you are with all your issues, with all your pain. So here I am. I'm in United States of America, having all these opportunities around, having this potentially great life, but I could not enjoy it because my little kid was still in pain. So I had great job, met new people, and still felt lonely and isolated, like you might feel today during this challenging situations with the COVID. So what I did first, I did nothing. I just did what my habitual thoughts were telling me. Run back home, run back to Poland because you are still not happy. Until one day I decided that I won't be a victim of my story anymore. That I realized that the only barrier, the only thing that is in the way of my happiness is my own thinking. Have you heard the sentence or saying, what you focus on grows? Yes, it's what I realized at that moment, that where I direct my thoughts, there I am. And I was focusing for many years on being a victim, being someone who the outside world is hurting, that this outside outcomes, I have no power over them. It's how I felt, that it's not in my hand. The world should deliver to me. Why I need to fight? Why do I need to fight all the time for a job, for relationships, for being seen, for being heard? And then I realized that it's all on me. When I decide to be seen, people will notice me. When I decide to be here, I will speak up for myself. I will show up to the world, and the world will accept me or not. It's a funny story here, because for a long time I was also ashamed of my accent. So my accent, I created a story that my accent is in the way of achieving success, of doing what I really want. I was in this job that it was really good, but I didn't enjoy it anymore. Maybe you also are in relationships or jobs or any other situations that you feel that are not serving you anymore, and you still stick to it because you feel that you can't. Like I did. For a long time, I thought I can't have what the other people have. I can't be like the other people. But also, I realized I don't want to be like the other people, because when I started to watching people, they were sad. Their eyes were like my mom next to my bed. They were watery and empty, kind of like, there is no desire, there is no happiness or joy of living the life that they have right now. So my advice, or from my own experience, is please look at your heart, look at your thoughts, and ask yourself, what do I really want today to take with me when this all challenge is over? Do I want to be in the job that I am? Do I want this relationship that I am in, the friendships? Or maybe it's time for change, and you can do it. You can have whatever you want. It didn't happen for me until I decided that I don't want to be first like the other people. I want to be me, with my accent, with my broken English, and started to believe that I have a gift to offer. And I'm not gonna wait for one day that is not in the calendar, but I'm gonna live one day at a time, one step at a time. And I will get there because I'm a rebel, because I remember what this 7-year-old was dreaming about. And she did not give up when she was in the hospital, and she not gave up when she moved here and felt not accepted with this whole new life in the US. She created her own life on her own terms. So I, all of you, encourage to be you, to be authentic, to be seen, to be heard, and join the movement that Matthew and Abraham created. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Beata. That I think it's inspiring. You're overcoming your own struggle. And I have a question. At what point did you recognize the power of your own mindset, of your own, overcoming the victim mentality and actually standing in your own power? Because I love what you're saying, that no matter where you go, your troubles fall. You can run away and travel anywhere in the world, but your troubles will still be there if you don't face them.
Great question. So actually, also, I don't know if you hear, sometimes you have to hit the bottom, the rock bottom, to actually go back to life. And I feel like I did. I was actually lying on the floor and saying, God, I hate my life. Please help me to do something with it, or I don't want to live. Like, really, it's what I was saying to myself. And at this moment, I hear, you are not dead yet. So, like, it was just still, it was my fault. Like, you have power to change it. It's in your hands. So I reached out to actually for support. I signed up for coaching, and it's what helped me. I found out also a great tool, if I can mention, journaling helped me so much into seeing my limiting stories, my lies that I was telling myself that were actually never mine, because the doctor said what he was seeing at the moment and what the circumstances were at the moment. But I was carrying this limiting story that I'm less than other people for years, for a decade, actually. So the help, it if you feel so low and you feel like you're lonely and you don't know if you can handle it anymore, you need to reach out to someone who will help you. It can be coach or therapist or friend or Abram or Matthew, anyone that you trust.
Absolutely. I think it's very admirable that you were able to be self-aware enough to recognize that story and the story that you were telling yourself. I feel like we all get, and I think you're right saying sometimes we have to hit rock bottom before we can find a way out, because until we see we're not, something's wrong and something's with our situations, things aren't the way we would like them to be. We don't even see our own role in getting it through and out of that. And I think it's inspiring that like you use journaling and other tools, I'm sure, to recognize what was going on inside you and to have that self-awareness to change the story. Because you say, like you're saying, you now you can see, you can recognize the need to be seen or the need to be heard, and you can speak powerfully, and instead of from a place of being a victim or being disempowered. So that's really very admirable, Beata.
Absolutely. And if I can add, like, if I'm not heard and if I'm not seen, I cannot help people that I want to help. And it's what I was talking about. Always wanted to do something meaningful. And I think helping others to implement positive change in their life it's what was that meaning for me when I was just a little kid. And it's what I do today.
You mentioned several times that little 7-year-old girl, right, who just took this belief on, and I feel like that happens. Like, it's happened to me, absolutely. Like, at different ages, at 4, 12, and 16, there were several beliefs that I took on, but they were unconscious for a long time. Like, I didn't realize that I was living from a belief, and that I didn't even realize I wasn't even living really in a way. And so, like, I'm just curious, were you conscious of this story growing up, or was it something that you had forgotten? And if it was something you'd forgotten, when did you get back in touch with that little girl? Like, what happened that brought you back to that?
Wow, wonderful question. So yes and no. So I feel like I always knew it, that it's not my story, what she heard, but I was, living in this society that makes you to believe, because at least in the Polish culture is like, the parents and doctors, they're authorities, and you need to believe them. You need to believe them. So I deep down I knew, but I was living that story. And many years later, when I joined the self-development movement and started to getting aware, I actually had a session with, I don't know what you call this, some kind of coach, but she took me. It's like hypnosis kind of, but it's not really. And I met this little girl. I met in my mind this little girl, And she made me aware, like, you don't need me anymore. You don't have to worry about me anymore. You can live your life on your own terms. Just you need to live. So I was 20, almost 30, and yeah, almost 30, and I was still living the 7-year-old story, not really aware on the conscious level that I do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty common thing. Like I said, I went through several different versions of that myself. Um, there's also something deeper that I feel like you're pointing to, but like hasn't really been said explicitly. And that is the choice to actually live. Like one of the things you talked about is like, I'm going to live my best life. I'm going to live my best life. And like recognizing that it was only you that was preventing that like it was just your mindset and your belief that was holding you back. And so I guess the question is, what is it that you choose to live for in each moment? Like if every single breath is a choice, what is it you're choosing to continue to breathe for now?
I'm choosing me because I feel like for a very long time I was choosing to live for others, for the jobs that I was doing, for my relationship that I was in, and fulfilling their needs, and I never thought what I really want. So today I'm very conscious about who I want to be and what I do really want, and I'm not afraid anymore to say no if I don't want it, and yes to stuff that I really wanted. It was an issue for a long time. I like to say yes to everything because I want to be liked. I thought that the respect is when you please everyone else around you and make them happy. But then I felt empty inside. So now I'm very conscious how I share my energy and who is around me, so their energy is not affecting my happiness, everyday happiness.
Yeah, that's huge, and that also goes back to like how we build self worth and what is it to be worthy? Just
Yeah.
what is it to be worthy, and does the measure that society assigns to worth really apply to me or you or Abram as individuals?
Well, this feeling worthy, like 90% probably of people feel not worthy. But when we really go deep in our stories, and it's how I found out that I didn't even know that you call it not worthy. I just felt like, they are better than me. Everyone is better. That's why they have better life. And later in life, someone said, "Oh, you don't just feel that worthy of what they have." And I was like, "Worthy? What does it mean?" Yes, I thought I was always this, kind of outgoing kid, and I would punch you if you would say something bad to me. Yes. So I was like, I thought I always felt worthy, and then when I was starting also journaling, I noticed that the stories that I'm telling myself, they are not uplifting stories. All of them is actually putting myself down. Like, okay, even if I achieved something, there was no time to celebrate. I was like, it was like so normal. It's okay. You did it. It was just a task. Go to the next one. So if you don't if you don't celebrate yourself, you don't feel worthy because you don't really acknowledge your worthiness, even if it's just like today. I'm on your show, and I could, when we are done, I could say, oh, whatever, it's just another show. No, oh my gosh, you could pick whoever, and I'm here with you sharing. So I'm gonna celebrate for sure. So it's how I validate myself, and I'm not always sorry. Back in the time, I was looking for validation in the outside world, and I also was pointing out at the outside world that you did something to me, that's why I'm not worthy. It's not about that. Worthiness is also about owning your story and owning who you are with all shortcomings and everything what happened for you in your life. So then you will, when you own your life, you own yourself, you feel worthy.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it back to that, because like being fully self-aware isn't just being aware of all the negative qualities, it's all the positive qualities too. And we do have both. And I really appreciate that. Like that was something that was like, oh yeah, I always tell myself the bad things about me. I never actually honor the things that are worth celebrating. And the more I look at what's worth celebrating, it's like everything is worth celebrating. It's not just the good stuff. It's like it's the hard times too. It's like it's the times I get angry, because those are the times that I learn the most. Like that, like the anger, the fear, the frustration, the whatever, to me, like those have actually become learning moments, because it's pointing to a story that I still have within myself that I have not realized I'm living.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you hear that, but one of my coaches, she said, Beata, we are just humans. We make up stories all the time.
Yes.
When you make up the story, why don't make up something good about yourself and about your life? And I was like, holy cow, that is so smart. This is brilliant. Yeah. Like we always make up stories about stuff and about our life. And why is it always? I mean, always, most of the time, 90% of the time of us, we go back to this low energy and negative actually stories. Yeah, we question, I want this job, but I don't know, it's so comfortable where I am right now. Maybe the other one will be worse. Like, how you know? Like, go and try. You won't know until you try.
Absolutely. It's like what you're just saying, it's like it's when we sit in our comforts, we don't see what's possible outside of it. There's no, like, if we focus on, I mean, it's like it's the dance between chaos and order. Like you can't, if you live the whole life just focused on your survival, just focusing on just being safe and comfortable, nothing will ever there's no opportunity without taking risk, without stepping into the uncomfortable place that's usually some fear or some form of a fear we have in front of us. And I feel in my own experience, every time, like Matthew was saying, it's like I'm grateful for the things I'm afraid of now, because that's a practice for, so that's something I need to work on. Like every time I'm pointed to something I'm afraid of, that shows me what I need to do next. And I feel like that's such a powerful place to be, because we could, like you're saying, we could focus on our own disempowering stories that we made up when we were hardly even on this earth for very long. Right. But we can also do the opposite. We can create a story where we win and everyone we know and love wins, and we are contributing to people around us. And I think that's a beautiful place to be. And I think it's amazing that you've recognized your own power and you're here sharing that story of your own transformation. And I think that will reach a lot of people, because a lot of people I feel have experienced the same thing, including me. I've had my own, feelings of unworthiness, or trying to get, the affirmation of others. And my worth was basically based on whether I was affirmed by other people liking me or approving of me. And that's a toxic, codependent space to live in. And it's not, there's no abundance or joy. It's only survival and fear.
Yeah. And, it's maybe funny, but I learned also for all these years to use fear as a empowerment, actually, because if I wouldn't get so scared back in time in Poland that my life is over, there is nothing else for me, I would not get on this plane and move here to US, where I had no one. I didn't know anyone, and I thought that my English is perfect, and I was very, I was kidding myself, because then I heard all this words, hey bro, what up? I was like, what? So you sometimes use the fear as a, as a catalyst to do something with to do something different with your life, and then see what is on the other side of your fear. And most of the time I was so scared, and you said basically the same, but when you pass the bridge, like, oh wow, there is kind of cool light, and this world is not that bad. Yeah. So we are very surprised with what is on the other side. It's not necessarily this dark and scary place. It's something better.
Absolutely. That's kind of a theme I've been noticing just from all the shares and also from my own experiences. On the other side of our fears are the most beautiful things in life that we couldn't even imagine are there until we actually make an effort, make the choice to confront and face our fears. And I feel like that's where our own peace of mind is. That's where our own transformation is. It's not running from our fears, because they'll always be there, because those conversations, right. That's the autopilot. That's how we see the world. It's based on our survival and our fears. But when we see them and recognize them and face them, that's when beautiful things happen. That's when magic happens.
Amen. Yes, for sure. And but we are programmed, like you also mentioned, since we are kids, we are programmed with this limiting stories that you don't try, because be happy with what you have. I am happy with what I have, but how about trying something else? Yeah, like maybe it could be better. It's about this make up better story, like and go for it.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Beata, for sharing just your story and who you are. I hope you'll come back and share with us again soon. Really inspirational.
Thank you so much, Abram and Matthew, and thank you for creating this virtual world for all of us. We need you.
Oh, well, we need you. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Beata. And thank you all who are tuning in. I want to extend an invitation and encourage you to share on the stage with us. You can go to our website, onedaymvmt.org. This is a space for you to share who you are. I said this before. This is a picnic that everybody's invited to. But what are you bringing? Who are you being in the world? What is it that you have that none of us have? There's something that you have that nobody else in the world can come close to. It's just who you are uniquely, and through your own unique experience. And this is a place for you to share who you are and how you got here, and to encourage and contribute to us all. So I invite you. And, this is part of our mission. And our mission for One Day is bringing you and I and communities together in joyous celebration, unifying humanity in our diversity to create a better world for us all. And that's why we're here, to create a better world for us all, a world that works for us all. Now I'm going to invite our next guest. I'm really excited. We have Lee Tran. Hi, Lee.
Hi, Abram and Matthew. How are you?
Fantastic. We're so happy you're here with us.
Awesome. So did you guys probably have screened through all the people, and you picked two people with very similar background to be on the same day?
I wish, it's funny, like, I wish I could say I did do that, but this has been happening. I have not planned it at all. It's always
I
just
hope
fallen.
I'm not singing the same tune. It's not going to be a broken record, but I'm going to try to remix this a little bit and make it more interesting. How about that?
Oh, look forward to it. Well, Lee, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Tran, and like my previous guest, I also came to this country as a refugee status identity. So I think America is the most wonderful, beautiful place that every single immigrant or every single refugee would want to be here. This is a paradise, and not every refugee lucky enough to be actually land on this place and claim it as their country. And I have to say that my family and I were the lucky one. We also lived under communists for 4 years. That was in Vietnam. I am Chinese, though. My parents also Chinese, and we were born in Vietnam. So 1975, if you are old enough to understand the Vietnamese history, So that was the day that North Vietnam took over Saigon. And so we lived under communists for 4 years. It was brutal for minority of Chinese. So 1979, we decided, my family and I, with tens of thousands, hundred other people, that we escape out to look for freedom out in the ocean. Yeah. So it's like 95% that guarantee they're going to be a death sentence. But we love freedom so much that we would do it. We did it anyway. And luckily, we only on the sea journey for 7 days. We got pirated 4 times in the Gulf of Thailand. And we were lucky to be able to find Indonesia and found the refugee camp and stay in the refugee camp for 8 months, and then got sponsored to America. So that was a happy result that we did. And like many people, I think, Beata and me and probably lots and lots of people come to America fighting with the inner self, from the place that we taught with the culture, with the traditional thinking about you have to live for your family, for the better of your community, not so much for yourself. Self-sacrifice is the first thing that I think Asian culture pretty much thrive on. Like, what do you do to help the family? What do you do to better your husband, your kids, your parents? So we were taught not to live for ourselves. So I came to America, struggle like many of you, and find my way to college and deal with language, culture, and the inner self and the outer self. Keep fighting every day, but we struggle through, right? We survive. And the thing is, like, even when picking major or having a major decision on anything, you always think about, is that going to be helping the family? Like, I've never really think about me, personal, what I enjoy, what I like to do. So in college, I land onto a science major, which I know it will resonate with Matthew, because I have heard him saying before he had the same thing. And I want to emphasize that I didn't say that I didn't have that passion. I mean, we all have passion and purpose at some point in our life. And I think our passion changed, our purpose changed. So back then, my purpose is to find a steady job that I can get a steady income to help my family. And that was the biggest deal, the biggest goal. So I did that. But after about 17 years in the science field, I felt like I was drained. I wasn't really living for myself. But because the money was good, because the job was comfortable, and I dread about, what about my own passion? How do I want to live happy every day? And it took me a long time to understand that I have my own power to make that choice. So long story short, I volunteered for a layoff, and I kind of like prepare my own way out to create an entrepreneur that I love, because I love interior design, I love sewing, and I get out to build my own business. But it took months of endless, not able to sleep and contemplate and worry. What about my family's going to think? What about, all the thing about people judging you, and you're going to fail, or you're going to be able to do it. But I was able to succeed, and I get out. And what I'm saying now is, like, looking back, there's so many things that we have things in our own power. We didn't believe in us, and we just not exercising that power. But once, I think, the empowerment is when you realize that you have the power to change things. And that's when the empowerment is the most powerful, moment, that where you realize that you can change that. This is not in Asia. I mean, this is a free country, right? Everybody can do whatever they love, because If you don't, you're going to affect the people around you. When you're not happy, your husband's not happy, your kid's not happy, your parents not happy, your community's not happy, because when you're grouchy and grumpy all the time, nobody want to be around you. So for me, I think it's taking proactively to take calculated risks. And that's how I did. I'm a learner. I'm always want to learn. So I took the step out to learn things and prepare myself on the side before I volunteer for the layoff. And I did put all of this in a TEDx talk last year. I'm actually learning how to exercise my voice, tell my story, because I've lived with passion for a long time. And then your passion changed. So my passion changed after 10 years of having a business. And I felt like I am also drained because I am beautifying everybody's home but mine. That's not the purpose of my life, because I want a bigger picture. I want to have more impact. I want to be able to change more lives. And many times we don't think our story matters because we know all the people who have the same situation with we are, and we don't think anything much about ourselves. But there's people, and I call them my magic circle, people that always cheer you up, champion you, and believe in you. Those are the people who make me recognize that I do have something valuable to share. Just like you have this platform over here. It's just beautiful, because at the end of the day, we all have the same fear. We all have the same struggle, limiting belief. I mean, I've listened over and over so many guests and so many different inspirational speakers that we all share pretty much the same struggle. We all share pretty much the same dream. The dream of having a freedom of living a happy, fulfilled life, a dream of be able to financial secure and be able to do bigger things, not just for us, but to leave a legacy, so have an impact once we're no longer in this earth. So that's why I did again, after the 10 years in business successfully, my husband and I did another big plunge. We just left everything and moved to Florida and find our own purpose. So now I am writing my memoir, telling about my story, about the struggle that we've been from being in the communist era, and how do we get out? How did I plow through all this year having those limiting beliefs? Because I want to help other people that they know that they are not also trapped, because they have a choice to free themselves. I remember one story I want to share real quick. After like 15 years in the science field, one day I drove to work, and I didn't know what's bugging me, but I was having this feeling up and down for many, many days. And I would thought maybe I'm just my, cycle, and I'm just getting depressed. And I drove to work, all the way to work. I closed the window, and I was screaming, crying, not finding joy in what I do. And other days, I felt like I'm the luckiest, happiest person because I have a secure job. I've got a good paying check. I have a beautiful family. I have, my husband, my son, loving family. But I know that deep down inside, something is still craving to get out. And I took me a long time. I finally figured out that's the inner voice of wanting to do more, be more. So you got to find your inner voice. I mean, if you're not happy, you will know it. You will know that even though something you're passionate at one point, it might not be the same thing 10 years later. So you got to listen to your inner voice to see if that is still lining with your purpose. Because if your passion is not lining with your purpose, then maybe that's what it caused you not happy. And that's what I did. I try really hard to try to figure out what was I not happy and how do I get out of it. So it's just a little funny, but I built my little system that I called Build Your Own Boat. And I like to refer to the boat story a lot because I came from a boat people background, a refugee from boat people era. So I like to think of my journey as a boat journey. And since it's a long story, but if you don't want to miss the boat, you hear the term, right? I missed the boat. You don't want to miss the boat. The best thing is to build your own boat. So you can create the opportunity that you want in anything, in any circumstances, even in COVID-19. You don't have to be helpless because we are creative human. When we push to a certain corner or a certain thing, we'll find our way out. And I sew at the refugee camp, not because by choice, but because we need money and we can serve other people. So I have a sewing background. So COVID-19, I need money to publish my book. So what did I do? I find that opportunity to sew masks so I can actually create a little income to fund publishing my book. So that is just a little creative example that you too have that talent, that gift, whatever it is, something that you can create and help your neighbors while earning money or killing time or, feeling good by doing good. Whatever there is so much that we can do, that's so much power we have, and we don't give ourselves enough credit to exercise those power. So I am really happy that I am able to get out of my own rut, my own hamster wheel of pleasing everyone. We have that conversation earlier between you guys, right? About always wanting to please people. But ask yourself, pleasing people is good, but does it match with your purpose? Does it make you happy? Because at the end of the day, you don't want to hate yourself for doing doing things that not lining with your purpose. So in my conclusion is, we have that power, guys. Build your own boat, and it's simple as BYOB. I tell people, not bring your own bottle, but build your own boat. And the first B for me, real quick, I want to share with you the system I use. The first B is be knowledgeable. Beseech, like seek out the facts and find out do the research, whatever the knowledge, the wisdom you have will help you build confidence. And the second letter is yes, attitude, why. The first one is B, the second one is why. Why stand for the yes attitude? Because with a positive yes attitude, whatever you focus on will become your reality. And if you focus on the half bucket that is full instead of empty, you will get the full result. And the third one is O. O is outsmart your fear by taking quick action. Because if you are just sitting around and contemplate about it and being in that comfort zone, you will talk yourself out of it. So for me, I like to do, Mel Robbins always saying, do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would say just jump on it and quickly. Of course, you're not going to jump onto the bridge and do something really, suicidal stuff. But trying to find some small wins and do it immediately so you can build your confidence. And the last B is believe in yourself. And it took me a long time to believe in myself that I can be an author, I can be a speaker, I can write a book. But I am doing it, guys. I am doing it. My memoir is coming out. So I can't wait to the day that I can share the struggle that not just me, but tens of thousands of other refugees who think they are victims, but they are actually victors. They are actually the triumphant of the slew of people who are able to come here and to build this country like we have today. And I'm really proud that I'm sharing the platform with them. And I'm really grateful that I'm able to share this platform with you. So if you want to listen to my TEDx talk, just go to YouTube, TEDx Eustace, and check for I Did Not Miss the Boat. And you will hear a snippet of my story. And hopefully I can share my book with you guys soon too. And thank you, Abram and Matthew, for the opportunity to share my story. I hope it's not a broken record of the same theme, but it's, again, very, very similar situation, very, very similar dream and happy that we are seeking for as a human. We all want happy. We all want a fulfilled life. And I don't want to take anything with me to the grave. I want to die empty, completely gone. Nothing with me when I'm going to the grave. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing, Lee, sharing your story and all that led you here. And I think it's amazing, you know, just the struggles you've been through, but I can hear a peace and a confidence in your presence that's very it's contagious. It's very pleasant to just to hear you share your story, just knowing what you've been through and being here now. And I'm curious, you mentioned your inner voice, and I'm curious, at what point did you recognize who you really were with your inner voice? Like, where did your inner voice start?
When you are not happy, when you know that you're success, but you're not happy, you know that you're bringing home a good paycheck, but you know that you can be more. And happy does not measure from a paycheck or a status or a letter behind your name. I think happiness is measuring, are you content with yourself? And when I don't feel content with myself, I know that's something that I have to do in order to get out of that. I mean, everybody have some ups and downs, right? I mean, everybody have a little blue zone sometime. You're happy one day and someday you feel sad. But if you constantly think that, I know I can do that. It's like I've listened to somebody's story and it's like, I know I don't need to make $1 million to retire. I know I can slow down just to build something that make an impact for other people. So that is I can't say that is one moment that I was like, oh, aha. But it take a cumulative of years of, that's why, it's a slow, I'm a late bloomer. I'm not a quick person. So it take me a long time to realize that, hey, I do have the power to let go of this limiting belief. I have a power to let go of all those grudges, resentment, of the victim mindset. I have the power to create my own destiny by creating my own opportunity. And I think every single one of us have that power, not just me. We just have to recognize it.
Right. We all have our own power to build our own boat.
There you go. Don't miss the boat.
I love that analogy. Like that's fantastic that you have this goes back to this really overarching theme that has been in the show since the beginning, basically. That it is often the most traumatic and painful experiences that transform later in life to the most empowering experiences. And to have that moment of like taking what at the time was, I can only imagine, so difficult and rough and maybe scary and who knows what else, and to be able to come back to it now in your life and share it as a tool to invite others to transform, and that you have used to transform yourself, it's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. Well, the thing is, like with COVID-19, is very much like when I was back in the refugee camp, not knowing that what's going to happen to us, who's going to sponsor us, how long we're going to be in the wait. I mean, right now, nobody have that thermometer to measure up, what's going to happen after when things are done. How are we going to go back with the regular life? How are we going to interact with social? Was it like before, or how many people are going to be unemployed? It's like, if you think about all the negative, it can really drive you crazy. But if you think about, how can I create this opportunity to make something that it's going to be one of a kind, like virtual stage. Hello, we didn't really think about that, sharing a platform with people all over the globe. It wasn't pushed. It was there, but it wasn't pushed. Now people are like pushing that because it's going to be the new norm. And I think opportunity is everywhere. You just have to be creative. Just be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that we are creators, right? Like that is the power of our imagination.
Yep.
It's what we do. And if you really stop to take that in for a second and realize that everything that exists today is something that only was imagined years ago, that gives us the choice. We can choose something different. We always have the power to pivot and choose something different. The
Right.
only thing that's stopping us from doing that is our own limiting beliefs.
Yeah, we put ourselves in a box, and we can't see from outside if you are inside the box.
Right.
Exactly. Like you gotta poke your head over there.
And I love how so many more people are popping up, and we're so lucky to live in the era that we have all the technology that to support us. And we're thinking about, oh, social isolation, but it's not social disconnect. I mean, not social, we still can connect. You just have to be distant. But this is another form of connection. I would never know you guys if we didn't have this opportunity of COVID-19. I know it's bad because some people are going through a very tragic moment about not be able to visit their loved one then in the hospital, and a large number of us are really still grieving for their loved one that they couldn't go to funerals or do things. And I have a almost 80 years old mom. I'm really worried about her too, because that's the population that very vulnerable. But for the majority of us, we're just like, oh, we're staying home. It's just like a staycation. We just have to go visit the refrigerator more often. We just got to find a Netflix channel that kill all those 8 hours that we have extra. But we can do so much more beside those comfort stuff, and get out of the comfort. I just try something different, something new, and we'll be glad that we did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of watching the time and we're running a little bit low, so I'd love to bring Beata back on and let you two chat really quick. Beata, do you have anything you'd like to add or any comments, thoughts?
I just don't know how the universe put us together, but yeah, really, our stories are so similar. And maybe the stories are not the same, but our feelings, like you, Lee mentioned, like thinking about families, like finding out our own identities again, and then overcoming these limiting beliefs and owning us and say, yes, I can create because I'm creator and I have the life that I want to have. So I'm so happy to be with you on this show. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
And I am calling that, like, living with obligation. And I am done with living with obligation. I am gonna live for me, because we only have one life, and we don't live for ourselves. Who will, right? And
Absolutely. But
and I
but
was like, when
I
I hear your talk, I was like, drop the mic. I'm done. I don't even need to say anything anymore.
I just want to ask you one question, because you were saying about the fighting, and I had the same. Basically, I was fighting myself because I felt like I'm betraying my culture. And
Yeah.
did you feel the same guilt
Oh
for a
yeah.
long time? Oh my God, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know,
I
Abram
think
and
it's
Matthew, if
it's
you have experience like that, but as an immigrant, we did. I felt so guilty for a long time that I'm betraying my culture and my family.
yeah. I mean, it's like we keep thinking we have to choose and pick. Either we have to
Right.
be traditional or we have to be American. But we can be
Yes.
both, because American is a mud. Everybody can be American. You just
Absolutely.
incorporate the beauty and sort out all the bad stuff, and take the
It
beauty
just
and make it.
it just goes back to this limiting beliefs that we were both, I see, talking about. Yeah. You can be you and you can own your life and you can be American and wherever you come from,
Right.
and add to this new culture what you bring with yourself. So I love it. I
And
love
that's the
it.
same thing with you. I was worried about what I say will misunderstood, because my accent and I don't know how to use the right idioms, and I don't know how, like the I'm like terrified of being laughed at. And
Yeah.
I'm here for 40 years now, and I'm still afraid And it's a fear that you just have to keep mastering it. Say that,
I think
everybody
what we
is
have,
afraid.
I think what we have in common is like do it with fear, yeah, do it anyway, and
Yeah.
we do it, and everyone can do it. Since I'm saying to my clients or my friends, if me, little Polish girl from this village that you cannot find on the map with broken English, could make it, everyone else can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just like to jump in really quick because that's a wonderful point. It's almost like fear has become a guide for me. It's like if I'm really scared of something, it's like, oh, that's something to do because in that
Yeah.
there is almost guaranteed to be some major transformation that will come
It's
out
like a
of it.
compass. It's like telling you true north.
Yeah, but
Go this way.
someone have said this, fear and excitement are very similar, except fear is the negative one and excitement is like positive. So, you have the same emotion, but one is channeled with bad outcome and one was channeled with positive excitement. So you're looking for that excitement. Fear is good. Fear is actually pushing us doing things that we have not done before, except we just have to think more positive, and then we're creating an excitement instead of a fear.
But to have this courage, to have this awareness that we all have now, we had to do the work. We had to be courageous to go deep and find out what is that fear. Why is it true? What is it?
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's another so going back to something that you said earlier, Lee, about obligation. I feel like this might be a great place to close and to say goodbye. I'd like to ask you both. So something I've noticed is that there's a totally different space that comes when I am choosing to help because it feels like it is the most appropriate, loving thing to do versus doing it out of obligation. And I feel like in growing up in a Western culture, I might have had it easier coming to that because we have that background of the rugged individual, right? Like it's not about family here. It's as much. It's much more about being tough and being the individual and doing things for yourself. And so was there a kind of a just a aha moment or like a slow realization where you realized that you actually were doing more for your families by not following those obligations? Like, was that ever a thing?
You asking me or you asking her?
But I'll start with you and then we'll go to Beata.
Okay. Well, for me, I think that when I realize that if I'm doing obligation is good, but you have to do it with love, because or else you become resentment. When you do it with obligation and you're not happy, then it's bad. Then you're expecting people to appreciate you. You resent when people are not appreciating you. So for me, if I can do it with love, and I feel obligated because if anybody in my family want to help, I will feel obligated, but I will not kill myself. If I don't have, I can't give. I can't feel guilty. I mean, I can't give you food unless I have food. I can't give you love unless I have love for myself. And I think, you have to replenish yourself first before you can give, because you have no shirt, you can't give your shirt away. That's just, many things that I think, fall back to how do you do it without expectation? If you're going to do it and say that it doesn't matter, this is all I can do, and I don't care if you appreciate it or not because I do it out of love, then you're not going to hurt yourself. And that place is a good obligation, not a resentment obligation. So to me, it took me a long time to find out that people might not even need my help, but because I'm the oldest in the family and I felt like I have to be muddled in everybody's business. Like nobody asked me to, but I feel obligated to. And then I get resentment. It's like, nobody recognized what I did. Like nobody asked me anyway. Why am I expecting? So I know my places. It took me a long time. I mean, I have started doing it like last 10, 15 years, that step back and let them handle their own situation and be there to support only when they ask or when they need it and say, I'm here. What can I do? How can I help? Don't just jump in and assume people need your help when they don't need it. And you obligated for no reason.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that took me a long time to realize. And we're in the happy place because I give them space and they come to me when they need it. And they don't, then, you know, I'm just going to say, I'm going to cheer you on the sideline. And that's all I can do.
Amen.
Right.
Amen. Well, you said it beautifully. So I just add my own experience. When I feel like when I felt obligated to kind of live the way that I was expected back in Poland, I was putting, like you said, on myself expectations, and there was no joy. So when I do something for people and I feel obligated, there is no joy. This is this pressure. And when we do something and feel pressure, it never comes, naturally, and it's not comfortable. So I realized that the only obligation I have is to feel good with myself. And it's what I was talking in my speech, to say yes to what I really want and no when I feel like I would not enjoy it. So I think it's all about obligations. Don't feel obligated because if you don't want to do something, because then you won't enjoy it and you won't do your 100%, because there is that negative feeling when we feel pressure.
Yeah, I think you can't really please anybody else unless you sort of like satisfy with yourself first.
Yep.
Right. What you're saying about obligation, it's like, I feel it comes out of fear, and this is like, it comes back to well, there's a saying what someone once shared with me. It said, fear knocked on the door and love answered, and then no one was there. And the whole point of that is those can't coexist. You can't, fear and love cannot coexist. And I think fear exists in order for us to see it and to transcend it and turn it into love. And I feel that's always with our own experience. There's always something, and it never ends. Like, just Lee, you're saying you've been here 40 years and you're still afraid of and we all have that. It never goes away. That little 7-year-old's always there. And it's almost like, I hear you. Thank you for speaking, but I've got work to do. I'm writing a book right now. Right. Would you mind? It's like, you don't have to, the fears are always there.
It's a constant battle. You just have to keep vigilant about how you're telling yourself. It's almost like, you eat and then you're hungry and then you eat again. You eat and then you're hungry. It's a cycle. It's never ending.
Absolutely.
And I think when there is no more fear, it means that your life is over. Like, you probably are not on this earth anymore, because
you become invincible and then you just don't care anymore.
Wow. That's so profound. I really, it was so inspirational having you both share your stories. Thank you so much for being here with us. We really hope you'll both come back and share some more. This has been.
Thank you so much for having
amazing.
us.
Absolutely.
And it's really nice to meet Beata too. I think, it's so comforting to hear that even it doesn't matter, you're from Europe, from Africa, from China, from whatever corner of the globe, we all have the same fear and the same hope and dream.
Yes. Thank you.
That same human experience, we all go through, and I think it's beautiful that you both share it, and from different experiences. You have the same. From different experiences, we have the same experience. It's kind of it's a paradox a little bit, but it's beautiful though, because that's how we can connect dots with humanity. How we can see someone anywhere in the world, whatever they're going through. We all laugh and we all cry. We all the same. And
I think the more we know about each other, the more we share, the less fear we have.
And I don't know who said it, but they said we are all one. And actually we are, because we have all the same fears at the end and all the same, we long for the same thing, happiness.
Yeah.
I love it. You're preaching to the choir. You're speaking all one day. This is exactly why we're doing this. It's to connect those dots. Like, our labels are nowhere. Our labels mean nothing without the underlying humanity is always what comes first before the labels are always way late. We always add the story and add the label, but who we are underneath that is that there's an infinite value that we all bring, and we all go through this experience. And the more we identify ourselves and each other with that humanity, as opposed to the label that our story adds and our interpretations and our right or wrong and our we get mixed up in this conversation that has nothing to do with reality. And that's why we're here. We're here to focus on the shared human connection through our stories. And this is a perfect testimony that just happened to be the same
and I know
situation.
we're coming to the end, but I'm really interested in hearing your story and Matthew's story. I don't know if you have it in there somewhere, but I'm curious about your background, your story, and why you come up to this idea too. I think it's a beautiful thing to connect everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I would be happy to share with you, and I feel like we have to do this again. Like this has been so we have to check in with the
Well,
Absolutely.
I can go look back if you already share it. I can go back and look at the episode and see what it is.
On the first episode we share.
Okay.
But I'll get that to you, because we actually are going to be reposting that soon. We have a lot of we're starting to put out all the shares individually, because we've had enough episodes that we have so many amazing shares that I'm excited to because some people haven't seen the other episodes and the other shares. But thank you again so much. This is what our vision is for one day. It's humanity rising in a connected world, with each person's unique contributions being valued and magnified through a higher level of collaboration, producing unprecedented new realms of possibility. And that's why we're here. And that's what these amazing, beautiful souls were sharing. This is fulfilling this vision of one day. And one day is not some distant thing in the future. One day we'll have peace. One day I'll be happy. One day I'll have this, or we'll have that. And those are all made up. There's no one day only exists how we are right now. And that's why one day is today. One day is an experience, and it's a community journey. And I will hope you'll join us some more. Tomorrow we have another episode, but thank you all for tuning in, for watching. Thank you to both of our guests. This has been such an inspirational episode for me, and I'm just so humbled and just excited, just how many amazing stories there are and how much it connects us. And thank you again for tuning in. Thank you again. I love you. We'll see you tomorrow, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.